What if I told you that the Vatican may be hiding the most sacred artifact in the history of Christianity? An object so powerful that its discovery could shake the structures of the Church and change everything we know about faith. For centuries, theologians, historians, and even former members of the Church itself have raised suspicions about holy relics hidden in the Vatican's secret vaults. But what exactly is being hidden? And, more importantly, why? Leaked documents, mysterious testimonies, and prohibited manuscripts point to something impressive. The Holy Grail, the chalice used by Jesus at the Last Supper, may be kept under lock and key within the Vatican archives. But it's not the only mystery. The Vatican's secret library hides centuries of forbidden knowledge, books that have been removed from the Bible and objects that could reveal disturbing secrets about Christianity. But here's the big question. If these relics really exist, why have they never been revealed? Why does the Church maintain absolute silence about artifacts that could prove biblical passages and transform the understanding of the Christian faith? The truth may be even darker than we imagine. What if the Vatican was protecting something that can't be shown to the world? The history of Holy Grail is full of mystery and conspiracy. According to tradition, this chalice would have supernatural properties, and many believe that it was hidden by the Templars to prevent it from falling into the wrong hands. Others believe that the Vatican took control of the relic and locked it in its secret archives, away from the public eye. And amidst so many mysteries and secrets hidden by the Vatican, one thing is certain. Faith continues to be a powerful force in the lives of millions of people around the world. Regardless of where the Holy Grail is, or what sacred relics may be locked away in the secret archives, our connection with the divine goes beyond any hidden secret. Therefore, I want to make you a special invitation. Leave your prayer request here in the comments. If you are going through a difficult time, if you have something in your heart that needs to be given to God, write here below. Let's unite our faith and pray together, because we know that nothing is impossible for Him. And if this content made sense to you, don't forget to leave your like. This helps a lot to spread this message and makes more people discover the hidden secrets of the Vatican. Subscribe to the channel right now and turn on notifications, because in the next video, we will reveal other prohibited artifacts that may be hidden inside the Vatican. You won't want to miss this reveal. Since the Middle Ages, historians and researchers have claimed that the Vatican has a vast archive of holy relics, many of which have never been seen by the public. Ancient documents, forbidden manuscripts, and cryptic accounts point to a treasure trove of knowledge and religious artifacts that the Church keeps under lock and key. But why? What is it about these relics that makes the Church prefer to hide them from the world instead of sharing them with the faithful? Among all these relics, there is one that awakens an even greater mystery: the Holy Grail, the Holy Chalice, which would have been used by Jesus at the Last Supper. For centuries, legends and theories have suggested that this artifact not only existed, but that it may still be hidden, stored in some place with extremely restricted access. Could it be possible that the Vatican knows exactly where he is? And more than that, is the Church afraid of what could happen if this secret were revealed? The history of Holy Grail is shrouded in secrets, mysteries, and even prophecies. According to some traditions, this chalice would have supernatural properties, capable of granting divine knowledge or even the eternal life whoever found it. Many believe that it was hidden by the Templars, a secret order of knights who had access to forbidden information and who, throughout history, was hunted by the Church itself. But there are those who say that the Vatican took control of the relic and hid it in his secret vaults, away from the public eye. If this is true, what would be the Church's true intention in hiding an object of such importance? This is not a simple conspiracy. There are records that suggest the Vatican is aware of the location of the Holy Grail, but will never make it public. Some old letters and documents indicate that within the Vatican's secret library, there are mentions of a golden chalice, described with symbols and inscriptions that do not belong to any other known era. Former Vatican archivists, in anonymous interviews, have already insinuated that the Vatican keeps relics that have never been shown to the world, and their existence is not even officially recognized by the Church. But if all this is true, why keep this relic hidden? If there's anything history teaches us, it's that the Church has always known more than it reveals. Biblical texts have changed over the centuries. Many books were removed from the Bible, and documents that could bring a new understanding of faith were simply erased from history. So, it wouldn't be so absurd to imagine that the Holy Grail may be one of the greatest truths hidden by the Church. What if I told you that there is evidence that the Vatican may be protecting this Holy Grail because it contains secrets that challenge Christian doctrine itself? Imagine if this artifact was found and scientifically tested. Imagine if he brought indisputable evidence that would change our understanding of the events described in the New Testament. Would the Vatican be willing to take that risk? Some scholars believe that the real reason why the Holy Grail was hidden is linked to something much bigger than we can imagine. What if it wasn't just a chalice, but a symbol of forbidden knowledge? Something that could rewrite the entire history of Christianity and call into question centuries of religious teachings. The fear of this truth coming to light may be exactly why the Church will never allow this secret to be revealed. And it doesn't stop there. The Holy Grail might just be the tip of the iceberg when we talk about holy relics hidden in the Vatican. After all, what else could be stored within these secret files? The Church has admitted to possessing thousands of historical documents, manuscripts, and ancient artifacts that were never released to the public. If the Holy Grail truly is among them, what other discoveries might be being kept from our knowledge? Now, I want to hear from you. Do you believe that the Holy Grail really exists? Do you think he's hiding inside the Vatican? Or is this all just another legend that the Church has never bothered to deny? Comment here below. I want to see your opinion. And to increase engagement even further, also comment on the phrase, "The secrets of the Vatican must be revealed." Let's spread this message and make more people discover the truth. It is believed that the Holy Grail be at the chalice used by Christ at the Last Supper, and that, after the crucifixion, it was taken to different locations throughout history. But who took him? Where has he been all these centuries? And most importantly, where is he now? The search for the Holy Grail has become one of humanity's greatest obsessions, involving Templars, alchemists, historians, researchers, and even the Church. Many believe that the original chalice was kept and protected in secret to prevent it from falling into the wrong hands, while others argue that it disappeared completely. But is this true? Or is he closer than we imagine, hidden in the Vatican, away from the public eye? The Holy Grail is not just a religious object. Ancient legends say he possesses supernatural powers, and that whoever finds it may have unlimited knowledge or even eternal life. Some stories claim it contains the blood of Christ, while others suggest that it is an object of divine wisdom, capable of granting its bearer a direct connection with the mysteries of the universe. But why would an artifact of such importance simply disappear without a trace? How could something so sacred have been lost to history? Or did he never really get lost? For centuries, secret orders and mysterious groups have been accused of hiding the Holy Grail. The Knights Templar, for example, are often mentioned as the protectors of the Holy Grail. It is said that they found the relic during the Crusades and took it to Europe, where it was kept in a safe place, away from the reach of kings and popes. But then, a curious detail emerges. The Church mercilessly persecuted the Templars, accusing them of heresy and sentencing them to death. Was it just religious persecution? Or did the Vatican want something that was in the possession of the Templars? If the Templars really had the Grail in their hands, what happened to him after the order was decimated? Some believe that the relic was hidden somewhere remote and remains missing to this day. But others defend an even more intriguing theory. The Holy Grail was handed over to the Vatican and has since been kept an absolute secret. This hypothesis may seem radical, but there is evidence to suggest that the Church may be hiding more than we are prepared to know. A Vatican secret library. It is one of the most inaccessible places in the world. Kept under tight security, it contains thousands of ancient manuscripts, historical documents, and possibly relics that have never been shown to the public. There are records that indicate that the Vatican has a golden chalice, described with characteristics very similar to those of the Holy Grail. A chalice that has never been exposed, never been studied openly, and that remains locked in the Church's secret archives. Coincidence? Or are we facing the greatest evidence that the Holy Grail was never lost, but protected by those who control the religious narrative? But if the Vatican really has the Grail, Why hide it? What would be the danger of revealing to the world the existence of such a sacred object? Some theories suggest that the Holy Grail may contain information that challenges Christian doctrine. What if the Grail brought concrete evidence about events described in the Bible, but which have been interpreted differently over the centuries? What if its origin was different from what we have been taught? The Church could be protecting this relic, not just because of its importance, but because of what it represents, a truth that can change everything. Furthermore, there are those who believe that the Vatican cannot reveal the Holy Grail because it would trigger unprecedented chaos in the religious world. The discovery of the chalice could reopen old questions about the early years of Christianity, about the true identity of Christ, and even about the first followers of his message. If the Holy Grail were revealed to the world, how would people react? Would the faith of millions be shaken? Would the Vatican lose its power? The fact is that the Church's silence on this issue only increases suspicions. The Vatican officially denies possessing the Holy Grail, but at the same time, never allowed scholars to fully investigate his secret archives. Why so much secrecy? If that relic really wasn't there, why not prove it once and for all? Does the Church fear that if this mystery is solved, many other questions will come to light? What if the Grail is not just a chalice but something much greater? Some historians claim that the idea of the Holy Grail may have been distorted over the centuries, and that it is not a physical object, but rather lost knowledge, something so powerful that only those who control the faith can access it. This would explain why so many secret orders, kings, and even the Vatican itself have tried so hard to keep it hidden. In the end, knowledge is power, and whoever holds it can shape history according to their interests. The truth about the Holy Grail remains one of Christianity's greatest mysteries. But will this truth ever be revealed? Or will the Vatican continue to keep this secret as long as it is convenient? The Church has a long history of hiding documents, artifacts, and information that could change the way we understand faith, and the Holy Grail may be just one of many other mysteries that have not yet been completely unraveled. There are records that the Vatican has numerous sacred relics hidden in their secret archives, including objects that would have belonged to Jesus and the apostles. Ancient manuscripts suggest that over the centuries, the Church collected and preserved items of great religious importance, but never revealed them to the public. Why? What is it about these artifacts that cannot be shown to the world? Among these relics, one of the most enigmatic is the Holy Grail, the legendary cup of the Last Supper. Researchers and historians believe the Lost Chalice may be stored in the Vatican, hidden in one of the underground vaults, far from any external investigation. But why hide such an important artifact? What does the Vatican gain by keeping this secret? The Church has always had control over what can and cannot be disclosed. If the Holy Grail really is hidden, it means there is something in it that cannot be exposed. Could this cup contain something that contradicts the traditional version of the Bible? A secret so powerful that it could change the faith of millions of people? Some theories suggest that the Grail is not just a physical chalice, but a symbol of forbidden knowledge, something that was intentionally removed from history to prevent people from having access to the true origin of Christianity. What if the Grail were proof that the story of Jesus is much more complex than the Church wants us to believe? There are rumors that the Vatican hides artifacts that challenge Christian dogmas themselves. Some ancient documents mention not only the Holy Grail, but also fragments of texts that were taken from the Bible, relics of saints, and even objects considered cursed. What is really locked inside the Vatican's secret archives? If there is anything that history teaches us, it is that the Church has always learned more than he revealed to the public, and when something becomes a threat to his power, he simply disappears. Another intriguing detail is that, despite countless searches and expeditions carried out by archaeologists and relic hunters, the Holy Grail was never officially found. This is strange considering there are detailed historical accounts of its existence. How can something so valuable just disappear from history without leaving a trace? The only logical explanation would be that it was never lost, but protected by those who have an interest in keeping it hidden. If the Vatican truly has possession of this sacred object, there is a strong possibility that it is hidden, alongside other valuable relics that the Church does not want the world to know about. Some scholars claim that the Holy Grail may hold secrets about Jesus' true lineage, or even records that show that its history was altered over the centuries to fit religious narratives controlled by the Church. What if Jesus' true mission was different from the one we know? What if there was information recorded in this Holy Chalice that contradicts the teachings propagated by the Catholic Church? If the Holy Grail contains any clues about what really happened during the Last Supper, or about what came after the crucifixion, it is not difficult to understand why it would have been hidden from us all. Furthermore, the issue is not just limited to the Holy Grail. The Vatican is also accused of hiding other powerful artifacts, such as the Spear of Destiny, the weapon that would have pierced the body of Christ during the crucifixion, and which, according to legends, confers absolute power on whoever possesses it. Many believe that the Church keeps these items secret because if they were studied scientifically, they could reveal truths that would challenge the very foundation of the Christian faith. The existence of sacred artifacts may be definitive proof of events described in the Bible, but what if these relics tell a different version than the one we have been taught? At the Vatican Secret Library has kilometers of underground corridors, where thousands of ancient manuscripts, historical documents and relics that were never released to the public, are kept under close surveillance. Many have tried to gain access to these files, but very few have been successful. Some scholars report that even those who managed to enter were prevented from researching certain documents. If the Holy Grail is actually inside the Vatican vaults, why not let the world see it? What does the Church fear will be discovered? Every year, new information emerges about secrets that the Vatican hides. Modern technology allows researchers to reconstruct erased documents, translate ancient manuscripts, and even find archaeological remains that were previously hidden. But even with advances in science, the Church continues to refuse to fully disclose its secret archives. If the Vatican has nothing to hide, why this resistance? What if the truth about the Holy Grail and other sacred relics deeper than we imagine? It is impossible to ignore that the Vatican has always exercised absolute control over what is considered sacred and what can be released to the public. Since medieval times, books were banned, manuscripts were burned, discoveries were suppressed. And now, centuries later, we keep asking ourselves, what else is hidden behind the locked doors of the Vatican? Relics that could change the history of Christianity are out of our reach, kept away from science, away from the public, and away from those who could use this knowledge to discover the truth. But how long will these secrets remain hidden? What will happen when the truth finally comes out? Will the Vatican be able to keep these mysteries hidden forever? Or are we about to witness a revelation that will change everything we know about the history of faith? These questions remain unanswered, but one thing is certain. The more we investigate, the more secrets begin to emerge. Now I want to know your opinion. Do you believe that the Holy Grail is hidden in the Vatican? Do you think the Church really has sacred relics that have never been shown to the world? Or is there something even bigger behind this mystery? Comment here below. Also, write the sentence, "The secrets of the Vatican must be revealed," to show that we want the truth. Let's spread this message and make more people discover these hidden mysteries. Some old letters and documents suggest that the Church has sacred artifacts that have never been exposed to the public. Relics of incalculable value. Objects that may contain secrets about the early years of Christianity, about Jesus and his apostles, about events that may have been recorded differently from the way we know them today. But the most impressive thing is that these relics are not only mentioned in manuscripts forgotten by time, but they were also mentioned in testimonies from people who had access to these secrets and dared to talk about what they saw. Reports that were quickly discredited, silenced, or simply ignored by the mainstream media. What if all this is true? And does the Vatican really own objects that could forever change the way we understand the Christian faith? One such report came from a former Vatican archivist who, in an anonymous interview, stated that the secret library holds a golden chalice with mysterious inscriptions. A chalice unlike any other ever documented, the engravings of which do not fit any known pattern. An object that, according to him, has never been shown to the public, has never been analyzed by external experts, and that has remained locked in Vatican vaults for centuries. And the question that remains unanswered: if this chalice was nothing special, why keep it hidden? Testimonies about relics prohibited in the Vatican go beyond a simple chalice. There are reports of documents that speak of apocryphal manuscripts, the remains of saints, and even the remains of figures who could rewrite the history of Christianity. If this evidence is real, the Church will not only has controlled the religious narrative over the centuries, but it has also prevented the world from accessing information that could profoundly alter our understanding of faith. Could the fear of a catastrophic revelation be the real reason for keeping these secrets hidden? And if this is the mysterious chalice, in fact, the Holy Grail, the most sought-after relic in history, the sacred object many believe to possess powers beyond human understanding, the artifact that would have been used by Jesus at the Last Supper, if it really is inside the Vatican archives, what does that mean? Was he discovered and hidden by the Church to protect his sanctity, or to prevent the world from knowing the truth about his real importance? And even more, what can this chalice contain? It is believed that the Holy Grail has supernatural properties. Some legends say that whoever finds it will be able to achieve unlimited knowledge, while others claim that it can grant eternal life. The very notion that the Grail may be more than a physical object, but rather a portal to a forbidden truth. It frightens those who have an interest in maintaining control over the faith and history of humanity. This would explain why the Vatican would never allow this artifact to be studied openly. If there were a way to scientifically prove its authenticity, would it challenge everything that has been taught over the centuries? Furthermore, the mystery is not limited to the Holy Grail. Several other artifacts were mentioned in documents and testimonies, but never came to light. Some scholars believe that the spear of Longinus itself, the weapon that would have pierced Jesus on the cross, is hidden in the Vatican archives, as well as sacred texts never included in the Bible, records that could reveal hidden teachings of Christ, or even details about his resurrection that were never shared with the public. If all this is true, we would be facing the greatest discovery in the history of Christianity. Revelations that could radically change the faith of millions of people, that could call into question centuries of religious teachings and raise new questions about the true role of the Church over time. But if there's anything history teaches us, it's that Vatican secrets have always been kept with absolute secrecy, and whoever tried to expose these truths, most of the time, was silenced before it could go too far. What is most intriguing about all this is the absolute silence from the Vatican. Why are there never straight answers on these matters? Whenever researchers try to obtain information, they are blocked. Whenever documents are leaked, they are discredited. Whenever theories come to light, they are quickly dismissed as fiction. But what if they aren't? If there really is nothing to hide, why so much concern in denying and suppressing any deeper investigation? Look at the Vatican secret library, thousands of historical documents, many of which have never been fully translated or analyzed by independent researchers. Access to these records is extremely limited, and only a few people within the Church's top leadership are allowed to see their contents. What is it about these documents that cannot be shared with the world? Why is the Church so afraid to fully reveal its collection? What if the Vatican's greatest mystery is not just a hidden sacred artifact, but rather a set of secrets that could forever change our view of Christianity? The truth may be locked behind armored doors, protected by centuries of silence and concealment. But with each new revelation, the mystery becomes harder to hide. Are we close to a discovery that will finally bring to light everything that has been kept secret for so long? If the Holy Grail really is in the Vatican, why would the Church keep this a secret? This is one of the most disturbing questions when we talk about hidden holy relics. What makes this object so dangerous that it needs to be kept completely confidential? Some believe that the very existence of the Holy Grail could shake the foundations of the Christian faith, revealing secrets that contradict centuries of established doctrines. If it were proven that the Grail is real and that its history has been manipulated over the century, it could completely change Christianity as we know it. But there are also those who believe that the Church's fear lies not just in the revelation of the relic, but in what it may contain. Theories suggest that the Holy Grail may be more than just a chalice. It may contain ancient inscriptions, hidden messages, or even records about events that have changed over time. There are historians who claim that if the Grail is exposed and analyzed, it could bring to light a version of Jesus' story that has never been told. Could he reveal that Jesus had different teachings than those that were perpetuated? Could there be proof that his lineage continued after the crucifixion? What exactly does the Church fear the world will discover? Other scholars suggest that the Vatican fears the Grail will fall into the wrong hands. For centuries, kings, emperors, secret orders, and powerful groups sought this relic, believing it bestowed divine wisdom, absolute power, or even immortality. If this is true, keep the Grail hidden. It would be a way to prevent your power from being used in the wrong way. What if the Vatican, for centuries, acted as the custodian of this artifact, ensuring that no one could use it for dark purposes? This would explain why there was so much secrecy, and why there was never even a concrete clue as to his whereabouts. But at the same time, it raises another question. If the Church possesses this relic and keeps it hidden, would it be protecting the faith or manipulating the truth? The history of Holy Grail is shrouded in mystery, and over the centuries several versions have emerged about what really happened to this relic. There are those who believe that he was hidden by the Knights Templar, who knew of its importance and tried to protect it from Church control. According to this theory, the Vatican persecuted the Templars to recover the chalice and ensure that its secret would never be revealed. Reports indicate that the Templars had access to information that challenged the traditional version of Christianity and that therefore needed to be eliminated. But did the Church really get what it wanted? Was the Grail taken to the Vatican secret archives? Or is it still hidden somewhere, waiting to be found? The truth is that the Vatican has a long history of withholding information. Documents were under lock and key, ancient texts were banned, entire manuscripts were considered heretical and burned. If something has the power to change history or weaken the authority of the Church, the tendency is for it to be kept secret. This would be no different with the Holy Grail. If it really exists and is hidden, it means that its true meaning is much greater than we imagine. But what if he has already been found and his discovery was kept completely silent? How would the world react if this relic was suddenly revealed? The impact would be immense. The Holy Grail could completely rewrite the history of Christianity. If he brought new information about Jesus, about his teachings, or about events that have changed over time, this could generate a collapse in the current religious structure. Is the Vatican hiding the Grail because do you know that the truth could be devastating to the faith you preach? And if there is something in this relic that directly contradicts teachings that have been propagated for centuries? Furthermore, we cannot ignore the fact that the Vatican has admitted on several occasions that it possesses hundreds of sacred relics stored in your files. Objects that have never been shown to the public, that have never been analyzed by independent researchers, and that remain a great mystery. If we already know that the Church hides historical objects, why would it be so difficult to believe that the Holy Grail are you among them? What if it's not just the Grail? What else could be hidden in the depths of the Vatican's secret archives? There are reports of people trying to access these files and never being seen again. Historians who spent years studying ancient records and who, when they got too close to the truth, were completely discredited. People who tried to expose forbidden secrets and ended up having their lives destroyed. If there's nothing to hide, why so many attempts to silence those seeking answers? What does the Vatican really fear? The most curious thing about all this is that the Church's silence on the Holy Grail only fuels suspicions further. If this relic doesn't exist, why has there never been a real effort to debunk theories about it? If the Vatican has nothing to do with the Grail, why has it never allowed full investigations into its secret archives? If there is nothing important hidden, why is access to certain areas of the secret library restricted even to members of the Church? The fact is that the mystery lives on, and with each new discovery, more pieces of this puzzle begin to fall into place. Are we about to discover the truth about this relic, or will the Vatican be able to keep this secret buried forever? What would happen if concrete proof emerged tomorrow that the Holy Grail was found and that, for centuries, its existence was kept in absolute secrecy? Would the Church speak out? Or would you try, once again, to silence the truth? The Vatican keeps other objects of incalculable value, in addition to the Holy Grail, and this raises even more doubts about the secrets that the Church has kept hidden for centuries. Relics that could prove events described in the Bible, which could forever change the understanding of Christianity, remain inaccessible, locked in underground vaults, away from the public eye and science. Saints' bones, ancient garments, forbidden manuscripts, and even objects directly linked to Christ's crucifixion are mentioned in historical documents and testimonies from people who had access to these secret rooms. But the burning question is, if these items really exist, why have they never been revealed to the world? What is it about them that makes the Vatican prefer to hide them rather than share their existence? Among these hidden relics, one of the most enigmatic objects is the Spear of Longinus, also known as the Spear of Destiny. According to biblical accounts, this was the weapon used by a Roman soldier to pierce Jesus' side while he was still on the cross. And some versions of this story claim that the spear absorbed a divine power, becoming a sacred object. Legends throughout history claim that whoever possesses this spear will have absolute power over the world, which made several leaders and conquerors seek her out, trying to use her for their own interests. But where is this relic now? There are those who believe that, just like the Holy Grail, the Spear of Longinus was collected by the Church and hidden in the Vatican to prevent it from falling into the wrong hands. But is this the real reason, or is the Vatican hiding it for another reason? Another relic that raises suspicion is the Veronica's veil, the cloth that, according to tradition, was used to wipe Jesus' face on the way to crucifixion, and which would have had the mark of his face imprinted in a miraculous way. There are several reports about the whereabouts of this object, but the most impressive is that there is no official position from the Church on its authenticity or exact location. Some theories suggest that Veronica's veil is hidden in the Vatican, kept together with other sacred objects that were never presented to the public in an open and honest way. If this relic is real, why doesn't the Vatican allow it to be studied? This brings us to an even more intriguing question. How many other sacred objects are locked inside the Vatican? Many believe that there are secret documents, forgotten religious texts and records that could completely change our understanding of the Christian faith. It has already been proven that the Church, over the centuries, has censored certain texts considered heretical, removing important parts of ancient manuscripts and deleting entire books of the Bible. What else could be hidden? What truths have been deliberately erased from history? The Vatican's secret library is one of the most restricted locations in the world. Its underground corridors keep thousands of historical documents, many of which have never been translated or studied independently. Very few people have access to this collection, and even those who can access cannot simply leaf through and study documents freely. Everything is carefully controlled, and only a small part of this knowledge surfaces from time to time. But what justifies so much secrecy? What could be so dangerous that the Vatican prevents the world from knowing what is really stored in these archives? Many experts believe that the holy relics hidden in the Vatican are not just pieces of historical value, but yes, concrete evidence that the history of Christianity can be very different from what we have been taught. The Spear of Longinus really exists. Does it contain marks or signs that contradict the biblical account? If Veronica's veil is true, would the image engraved on it show a different face from the one that has been popularized over the centuries? And if hidden documents contain accounts of events that have been erased from official history, how could we continue to believe that everything we know is the absolute truth? Another important point to ask yourself is the following. Why does the Church continue to deny access to these objects and documents? If there is nothing extraordinary about them, if they are just historical items with no major relevance, why not let the world see them? The fact that these artifacts remaining hidden only reinforces the suspicion that there is something much bigger being hidden. Does the Vatican fear that science will be able to prove something that goes against its doctrine? Or do you simply want to maintain control over what is considered sacred? The truth is that the Vatican has absolute power over the religious narrative. For centuries, the Church decided what should and should not be believed, what could be read and studied, and what should be erased from history. It would not be surprising to discover that there are many more hidden relics than we even imagine. And what would happen if, one day, one of these objects was revealed to the world? The impact would be gigantic, and the faith of millions of people could be transformed forever. Now, I want to know your opinion. Do you believe that the Vatican really hides the spear of Longinus and the veil of Veronica? Or do you think there are even more holy relics hidden in the Church's secret archives? What do you think would happen if one of these objects were revealed to the world? Comment here below. And to increase engagement even further, write the following sentence in the comments. The truth cannot stay hidden forever. Let's spread this message together and continue investigating the Vatican's greatest mysteries. Some scholars believe that the Church will never officially admit that it possesses the Holy Grail. And if this relic really is hidden within the secret vaults of the Vatican, what would be the real reason for so much secrecy? For centuries, the Vatican controlled access to ancient manuscripts, historical documents, and sacred relics, deciding what should be disclosed to the public and what should remain hidden. It's not hard to imagine that if the Holy Grail really is there, will never be revealed voluntarily. But what if, at some point, a pope more open to transparency decides to break this silence and expose these secrets to the world? This is a possibility that raises both hope and fear. Some argue that one day a pope who is more open to the public will be able to reveal the truth about these artifacts. But would this really happen? Is the Church willing to share its secrets? Or would pressure from hidden forces within the Vatican itself prevent this revelation from being made? The power of the Vatican is not just limited to religion, but also to politics and the control of information. How many secrets were protected at all costs to ensure that certain truths never reached the public? The existence of the Holy Grail, as well as other sacred relics, can represent a real threat to the authority that the Church has consolidated over the centuries. The question we need to ask is, what would happen if tomorrow the Vatican revealed that it actually possesses the Holy Grail? The impact would be gigantic, shaking not only the faith of millions of believers around the world, but also calling into question the very structure of Christianity. If this artifact had been in the possession of the Church for centuries, this would mean that the truth has been deliberately hidden all this time. Why? What is it about the Grail that would prevent the Church from sharing it with the world? Could it contain inscriptions, documents, or evidence that contradict the official narrative about the story of Jesus? It is possible that the Vatican fears that the discovery of the Holy Grail will bring to light secrets that compromise its credibility. What would happen if the Grail proved that some teachings were manipulated, rewritten, or adapted to maintain control over the faithful? There are those who believe that the Holy Grail may contain proof of Jesus' true lineage, and that the Church has hidden this information to protect its authority. If this is true, this secret needs to be protected at any cost. The problem is that every year, new information emerges, new research is carried out, and science is increasingly advanced in identifying and studying ancient documents. If one day the truth about the Holy Grail or other holy relics comes to light, it will be impossible for the Vatican to continue denying it. But will that day really come? How far is the Church willing to go to keep this secret? Is there a limit to what can be hidden? Or are we facing a mystery that will never be completely unraveled? There are many indications that the Vatican holds information that could change everything we know about the history of Christianity. If relics like the Holy Grail, the Spear of Longinus, and the Veil of Veronica really are hidden, then the Church has much deeper knowledge about the true story of Jesus than we realize. But if the Church knows so much, why do you continue to insist on denying any involvement with these relics? The Vatican's silence on these issues only increases suspicions. If there is nothing to hide, why stop independent investigations? Why maintain absolute secrecy about the contents of your secret library? What is really locked away within the depths of the Church's secret archives? The truth may be more shocking than we imagine. If the Holy Grail is really in the Vatican, then it is not just there as an object of symbolic value. It must contain something that the Church believes can never be revealed. But will that ever change? Are we about to witness a moment in history when these mysteries will finally be revealed? Or will everything continue to be buried, hidden from people? While only a privileged few have access to the truth, if the Holy Grail really was hidden, would this change your faith? This question may seem simple, but it carries a huge weight. After all, if this relic really exists and was deliberately kept secret by the Church, what would be the consequences of this for everything we believe? The faith of millions of people around the world is based on teachings passed down over the centuries. But what if part of that history was manipulated to hide information that could never be revealed? What if the Vatican knows more than it has told us? The idea that the Holy Grail may be locked inside the Church's secret archives raises an even bigger question. What else could be being hidden from the public? If such a sacred relic could have been hidden for centuries, it wouldn't be difficult to imagine that other equally impactful secrets were also buried throughout history. How much evidence was simply erased, locked away, or rewritten to ensure that only one version of the facts reached us? What if some of what we know about Christianity has been carefully shaped to steer us away from even greater truths? For centuries, the Church exercised absolute control over manuscripts, sacred texts, and ancient relics. Several books were removed from the Bible, texts considered dangerous were banned, and knowledge that could alter the traditional view of Christianity was systematically erased from history. If the Church had the power to decide which texts should be preserved and which should be forgotten, which ensures that we are not being deprived of crucial information about the true message of Jesus? What if there are records that tell a completely different version of the story we were taught? What would happen if tomorrow it was revealed that does the Vatican have concrete evidence of biblical events that have changed over time? How would people react if they found out that could the history of humanity have been manipulated for centuries without us knowing? Would the faith of the faithful withstand a revelation of this magnitude? Or would there be a spiritual collapse and an unprecedented religious crisis? These are questions that no one can answer with certainty, but one thing is undeniable. The more we investigate, the more signs we find that something is being hidden. If the Holy Grail really is in the Vatican, this means your story has been carefully protected to prevent inconvenient truths from coming to light. But what is so dangerous about this relic? There are those who believe that the Grail contains secret inscriptions, messages that should never have been read by the public. Others believe him to be proof of sacred knowledge that was denied to humanity. Something so powerful that it could transform the way we see God, the Church, and the very purpose of faith. If this is true, it makes sense that the Vatican would go to great lengths to keep this relic out of the hands of anyone who could study it independently. And if isn't the Holy Grail the only secret hidden within the Vatican archives? If there are records that this relic was hidden, then it is possible that there are other equally valuable sacred objects that have never been shown to the world. A spear of Longinus, the veil of Veronica, fragments of the cross of Christ, and even manuscripts that could contain never-before-revealed words of Jesus. They may be hidden somewhere within the Church's underground corridors. And if these items really exist, why have they never been shown to the public? What is the real purpose of keeping all this secret? The Church has always positioned itself as the guardian of faith. But does faith need secrets? If there is nothing to fear, why hide the truth? What would happen if the world discovered that there was a conspiracy to withhold information that could completely change Christianity? Would this cause people to turn away from the Church, or, on the contrary, would it spark a new interest in understanding what really happened in Jesus' time? Have we been fooled this whole time? There are many indications that the Vatican has knowledge that goes far beyond what we were taught. There are ancient documents, written by theologians, bishops, and even scholars of the Church itself, which indicate that there are truths that have never been disclosed. If these records exist, it means there is an active effort to prevent humanity from accessing certain information. But why? What is the real interest in maintaining this curtain of silence around the history of Christianity? Every year, new discoveries are made by archaeologists and researchers. Ancient manuscripts are found in the Middle East. Texts once considered lost are being recovered, and science is getting closer to deciphering documents that could provide answers to questions we've had for centuries. The Vatican can continue to deny access to its archives, but for how long? Are we close to a revelation that will change everything? If one day this truth is exposed, it will be impossible for the Church to continue denying it. The big question is the Vatican prepared for this moment? How far is the Church willing to go to protect these secrets? If there is knowledge that can change humanity, will it be shared or will it remain locked within the walls of the Vatican's secret library? If the Holy Grail really is hidden in the Vatican, What would be the implications of this for everything we know about
the history of Christianity? If this sacred relic is not just a legend, but a real object, kept out of the reach of the public and science, what is the Church trying to protect? This is the big question that many researchers, historians, and theologians try to answer. But to this day, any attempt to access deeper information on this topic is blocked. The truth is that the Vatican keeps countless secrets, many of which were never fully revealed. We know there are apocryphal manuscripts,
forbidden texts, sacred artifacts, and even documents that have been censored over the centuries. The Church had the power to define which stories would be told and which should be erased. And, if the Holy Grail really was found and hidden, that means its existence could not be revealed without causing a huge impact on the faith of millions of people around the world. But what is so dangerous about this relic? What could it contain that forced the Church to hide it for so long? Many believe that the Holy Grail is not just a physical chalice, but rather a symbol of something much bigger. Some say it contains mysterious inscriptions that could reveal secrets about the true story of Jesus and his followers. Others believe he can hold concrete evidence that Christianity developed differently than we were taught. There are also those who believe that the Holy Grail has a direct link to a secret lineage that the Church did everything to erase from history. If these theories are true, it is not difficult to understand why the Vatican would never allow this relic to be exposed to the world. And if the Holy Grail really is in the Vatican's secret vaults, this brings us to another crucial question. How many other holy relics could be locked inside? We know that the Church has admitted to possessing priceless historical objects, such as fragments of the cross of Christ, bones of saints, and even ancient manuscripts that have never been fully translated. But if there is this kind of treasure hidden inside the Vatican, why has it never been revealed to the public in a transparent way? What else is being hidden? With each new archaeological discovery, the history of Christianity becomes more complex. Dead Sea Scrolls, for example, brought information that contradicts some of the biblical narratives that were officially adopted by the Church. Ancient texts found in Egypt tell of events in the life of Jesus that were never mentioned in the canonical Gospels. If there is so much information that has been suppressed or ignored, how many other truths could be hidden within the Vatican's secret archives? Many of these relics could be concrete evidence that the story was manipulated. If the Church has controlled information for so long, that means she may also have shaped the faith according to her own interests. If, for some reason, the existence of the Holy Grail could destabilize this power structure, it makes sense that it would have been removed from official records and kept away from public knowledge. The Church has a long history of censorship, and the fact that her refusal to fully open her files only reinforces the suspicion that there is something much bigger hiding inside. If the Vatican decided to reveal everything you really know about the Holy Grail and other sacred relics, the impact would be gigantic. Some people might see this as confirmation of your faith, while others could question everything they believed their entire lives. What would happen if it were proven that the story of Jesus was different from the version we know? How would believers react if they discovered that certain aspects of Christianity had been tweaked over time to suit specific interests? These are questions that may never be answered, because the Church seems determined to keep certain secrets closely guarded. And we can't forget that the Vatican's secret library is one of the most inaccessible in the world. What's inside that can't be seen by the public? Why do only a select group of people have access to the Church's oldest and most valuable archives? What would happen if independent researchers could analyze the most confidential documents stored in these archives? Would new truths come to light? Could we finally have answers to the greatest mysteries of Christianity? And don't think this is just a baseless theory. Many people who tried to investigate these mysteries up close ended up disappearing or had their careers destroyed. Researchers who claimed to have proof that certain relics are hidden in the Vatican were quickly silenced. If there is nothing to hide, why this dire need to prevent independent investigations from being carried out? What is really going on behind the closed doors of the Church? The truth may be much greater than we imagine. What if we've been fooled for centuries? If there's a chance that the Holy Grail and other sacred artifacts are actually hidden in the Vatican, so we need to continue investigating, questioning, and seeking answers. With each new discovery, more pieces of this puzzle begin to fall into place, And the more we push for transparency, the harder it becomes for the church to continue denying that anything is wrong. I know you've come this far and felt the voice of God talking to you through this video. Don't ignore this call. Maybe this is the confirmation you needed to seek more knowledge, question hidden truths, and deepen your faith. If you believe that the truth needs to be, revealed, subscribe to the channel now and activate the notification bell, because here we continue investigating the deepest mysteries of the world Vatican, the Bible, and the forbidden history of Christianity. Now I want to know who actually made it to the end of this video. If you watched everything, comment below. I want to know the truth. This will show me that you are part of that group of people who, they are not satisfied with ready-made answers and want to continue searching for the truth. And before leaving, leave your like, because this really helps this content to reach more people who also need to know these hidden secrets. And don't stop here. The next video is already appearing on the screen. Click now to watch and continue this investigation. See you there.